to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. Making news this time around. Well, there is a toy fair that's happening in New York City, and various toys have been revealed there from many versions of pop culture. One being Star Wars and one being the Mandalorian and Grogu. Has been plenty of reveals with new characters that are making the light of day. Jon Favreau has mentioned before he is very well aware that Star Wars fans will look into these and speculate. So obviously this has been a plant in the seed for some theories and just enthusiasm for the up-and-coming film, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is coming out May 22nd technically, but here in Australia I think it's May 21st, I think it is. But it's coming out very, very soon. Part of the toy range has been revealed, involving Funko Pops, classic figures, and just other accessories. I will say that later in the show that I'll give you some opinionated version of something, an aspect to one of the toys that later in the show, in the interview section from myself. To making more news, we've also got, speaking of which, The Mandalorian and Grogu. We did have the Super Bowl commercial, which you can either call that a teaser or trailer, or whatever it is. But there are reports from big trades, that the actual official trailer is coming for The Mandalorian and Grogu. So it is very short time away. I would say it's going to be in the next week or two, rather than being a couple months away, closer to the release date of Grogu, because I think the backlash is too huge. They need to sort of do something that will really have Star Wars fans get back on track and back on side. So just really watch out for The Mandalorian and Grogu official trailer coming really soon. It's being reported by a major trade out there. Anyway, so that is exciting. Wishing that it's going to sort of give us a bit insight of a bit more to the story of what's possibly going to happen. We know good versus bad, that's Star Wars, but in what way, that will be even more interesting. To more news, Skeleton Crew, which was a TV series on Disney Plus, which was sort of received pretty well, but just not rated very highly, is possibly, and I say possibly, getting a second season. And that's coming on Disney Plus. Apparently, it's in development right now. I would say in a very early stage of developments, but that is what is happening right now. Skeleton Crew is possibly going to get a second season. It is possibly in early developments right now, so just watch out for that. I thought the Skeleton Crew was a bit of fun. Something different, and it was perceived well. Anyway, so that is the news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views is my story idea that I like to have something to do with Star Wars, and I've got to say, and I always say, I accept Star Wars for what it is. From start to finish, I just accept it for the actual story for what it is. Yes, there would be things I would change. Yes, there's ups, and yes, there's downs, and there's lefts and there's rights. But you know what? That's the story that is still an interesting story to a certain degree, whether you like it or not. But yeah, so anyway, my story idea this time around is the villain that is yet to be completely revealed in The Mandalorian Grogu. Should this villain be, outweigh the likes of Darth Vader or Darth Maul or the Emperor? Should it be? I'm going to say that the type of villain I would have is definitely an extreme bounty hunter that is not so iconic, simplified looking. I would create this character to be sort of looks like another bounty hunter, but obviously with some sort of presence about it. I would have the bounty hunter that is going to be the chief villain in this story to be a little bit similar to what the villainy is in the Star Wars galaxy at that time with Mandalorian and Grogu in the Star Wars timeline. I wouldn't have too much out of there. I think these villains really work when they're iconic, like Darth Vader and Darth Maul, but I would leave those type of villains to the big episodic storytelling cinematic versions of Star Wars. That's what I would do. And also to give variations of Star Wars. Star Wars needs variations. It can't be always black and white and things like that. But I would like the villain to be like he's one of the other bounty hunters, just with some sort of presence to him or her that is a bit unique. That's what I would do. That's my story idea for the movie that's coming out shortly, May 22nd. And I'm sort of, you know what, even though there's been a lot of backlash with the whole Mandalorian, especially with this last sort of TV spot type of thing that was on the Super Bowl, I still have an excitement for it. I think there's, I'm not going to weigh into what other people are going to think about this last particular spot. I think there's something to say in this film, but I'm just wishing it's going to look cinematic. That's my wish. Anyway, that's views for this time around. Let's get into reviews. Reviews is something that I have in this big room of mine with all these bits and pieces that have relevancy to mainly Star Wars, but other things. But anyway, one of the things that you may not be aware of, especially if you're coming from the other side of the world, maybe you got this, I'm unsure, but this here is a magazine that was advertising Hayden Christensen being in the land down under, which is Australia, during the prequel era, because majority or all of the filming was done in Sydney, Australia. He was here. He's obviously got the mask on. I think this is for the new mask. So this was for the Revenge of the Sith. This was Who magazine that was advertising the next up and coming film, which is Revenge of the Sith. And as you can sort of see, it's got a little page that sort of goes out like that. That's the actual cover. That was it's so, look, this is so old. Olympics 2000, Who's Coming? I think actually this could have been Attack of the Clones, because Revenge of the Sith was about 2004. But anyway, yeah, so there's a big spread in here. I'll try and see if I can find something of it. Let's have a look. Can't see anything. Oh, look here. Bit of an interview there with Hayden Christensen. This is a prized magazine that I don't think everyone would collect, but I do, because it's, anything that Star Wars at the time, especially in print, is historic, and I love Star Wars, as you know, and so this one gets a 9 out of 10. Who magazine was not my favorite magazine, but it was definitely a comprehensive look into the particular film at the time, and I've still got it, and that's great. Anyway, so that is that's the reviews for this time around. Let's now sip a little bit of the old coffee. So anyway, beautiful. It's the morning here. Let's now get into interviews. Interviews is where I answer the questions on my last particular video from the comments. So I can either answer questions, or you can leave a comment, or whatever you like, deemed appropriate for the channel. And usually our friend Michael from Werribee South is always on this thing. Anyway, let's read the questions, the interview questions. Many fans were disappointed that the first look in over 6 years of Star Wars Super Bowl ads did not include high-octane action from their $150 million plus film. Disney marketing executives stated the goal was to poke the audience and remind them of the love of characters through a wholesome home page. Why no movie footage in Grogu trailer? Well, I would have thought they were going to have a tease for a trailer, but they just had a tease. In my opinion, that thing we got in Super Bowl was more of a tease. They should have led it into the trailer will be online soon. But you know what? What the intentions was from Disney to poke people and remind them that it's coming is a good idea. But I would have just let it off with a trailer, because I just think the whole backlash of the particular Super Bowl ad for Star Wars was outweighing anything, and that's what it's going to be most memorable. But I think the marketing for this is good. I mean, I know that the rest of the Star Wars, not the rest, but a part of it, is not really happy. I'm thinking it's on track. It just really needs to deliver a story and a look that is episodic. Sort of very, cinematic rather than episodic, cinematic to what Star Wars deserves to be on the big screen. That's what I think. Anyway, so the next question, which is Michael from Werribee South, can you believe it? He's asking, Hoth rumours. The snowy setting has led many to speculate that the movie may return to the ice planet Hoth. What do you think? Well, whether it's Hoth or not, in The Force Awakens, we had a desert planet named Jakku, which is very similar to Tatooine, which I think was a very creative way to think people at that time were going back to Tatooine. But it was another planet called Jakku. There's going to be many planets out there in the Star Wars universe that has similar feels. Many snowy planets, many desert planets, many city planets. But I don't know if this is Hoth. I will be pleasantly surprised if it is. I think it's going to be an original icy planet. I don't think they're... in my humble opinion, if I'm going to think how they work at the moment, they'll think more original rather than, nostalgia at the moment with the backlash of that type of thing. Nostalgia gets a bit of backlash, but even though I think it can be a part of the story. I'm going to guess that it's not Hoth, but it is an icy planet, a snowy planet, and that's great. It's been seen before. You can only have so many types of planets before you get a bit obscure. I think the most obscure planet I've ever seen was this electronic flower planet that was, I think, you saw an image of it at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I thought that looked a bit out there. It looked a little bit Avatar, but in my opinion. But still, that's what they're presenting. I accept it for what it is, because that's the story we've been given. We need to let the storyteller tell the story, how it goes. But anyway, that's the answer to that question. The third and final question today, symbolism. Fans noted a moment where Grogu takes the reins from his adoptive father, which some interpret as a sign of growing independence and skill. What do you think? Well, it could be. It'll be, a very good way in not directly saying to the people he's taking the reins. But I think Mandalorian and Grogu really work as a team. If one dies in this particular film, which I would say I would guess more the Mandalorian, if they do, it would break that bond. It would break the whole idea of what they've set up all this time, and yet that would be another opportunity lost if the story writers decide to kill off one, especially any of them, because killing off Star Wars characters has them come back, in a crazy fantasized way and coming back to life. But it could be that he's taking the reins. Definitely the focus in this film is going to be Grogu. It's the sell point to this film, especially to kids, especially to non-Star Wars fans. This is what's going to lure that audience in. And for us Star Wars fans, it's another, character that is good. It's probably a little bit, cheesy at times, but it's fine. But anyway, so that is the answer to those questions. Now, I did say earlier on the show I was going to give you an opinionated version of... we've had the Toy Fair in New York City with some reveals of characters we haven't seen in The Mandalorian and Grogu that look interesting, I'll tell you that. But the only thing I'll say is with the classic characters, they have been put in a classic carded with a bubble sort of thing of the character inside there, which is great. But yet again, it's the same sort of... it almost looks like the original Star Wars release of carded back cards and with a character in it. I just think this is, it looks cheap. It looks like it's been made in the back. In a backyard. I don't like I think every carded character in the classic range needs to have its unique sort of look to create, a uniqueness and variation, because that's what Star Wars was doing in the beginning. Every time a movie came out, the actual classic characters were in a different sort of look to their carded backs of the figure. And I thought it was just fun, it was creative, it was refreshing, but to have the same old card, which is great, but I just think it's a little bit, tiresome. It's a little bit, a little bit backyard sort of like put together, in my opinion. But some of the characters that are coming out look pretty interesting, more bounty hunter sort of characters. And we'll wait to see when they do actually come out, see what happens. And the film is not too far away. Again, it's May 22nd. And anyway, that is my opinion. That is the interview section of The Force Always. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.